Where things get really cool is when you take the same concept and you apply it over top of 16th notes, okay? Just like you want to get the ability to play phrases as accents over top of 8th note triplets, you want to get the ability to play and improvise phrases that are accents over top of 16th notes, and then you want to double everything else, okay? For example, if I take hand-to-hand 16th notes and I improvise some accents, it sounds like this, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. Alright? Accent everything else, double everything else other than the accent, sounds like this. Okay, so I'm still saying the same thing. Ba-da-dash, ba-dash, bas, ba-ba. But I'm just had that clean double stroke roll underneath, okay? That's the goal, and that's just one bar. Eventually you want to be able to keep this going for as long as you hear ideas in your head and as long as is musically appropriate. Okay, so the way to get this happening is to, again, take the letters, words, phrases approach and work on the letters, then work on a word, then work on a phrase, okay? So if we're talking about 16th notes, let's just try accenting only the downbeat, okay? So the first 16th note will double everything else, okay? That sounds like this. Okay, play that a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now there are some technical things about this, like if you play this a lot slower, there's more space to deal with, and then you can get technical in terms of like, well, what subdivision are you playing? Is it technically 32nd notes? Are you playing like 16-note triplets? Are you playing like septuplets? Because it's like 7 notes at that point, like the single, and then followed by 3 sets of doubles, so really it's 7. How much space you put in between those notes dictate what the subdivision is. It's not really that important unless you're approaching it from an academic standpoint, which we're not really doing, okay? We're just trying to develop freedom to play stuff on the drums when we want, okay? But just be aware that that's what's happening. So we did the downbeat, let's do the second 16th note, okay? That'll be an accent on the left hand. So we'll do it without doubles, then we'll do it with doubles. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. That one can be a little tricky because your ear is going to want to latch onto that accent as the new downbeat, but really it's not. This is why I check the hi-hat all the time when I'm playing almost anything that's not groove related so that there's a clear reference to where the downbeat is, okay? That's important for me, and it's important for the band members too, and it's important for the listener to know to keep that kind of pulse going, okay? So we did the second 16th note, let's do the middle 16th note, right? Which is the third, which is actually the upbeat, okay? It's the and. 1, 2... Okay, the other one left is the fourth one, okay? That's the 1 E and okay? So the 4th 16th note, accenting it, doubling everything else. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for those tricky accents that are either on the E or the right, the ones that are syncopated on the upbeats, it's important to really keep track of where those accents are on the grid in relation to the quarter notes so you don't get lost. Again, this is why tapping your foot for this stuff is super important, okay? So also keeping track of what hand the accents falls on, and so I know that it's going to be a left for every one, but for the last one, it's going to be a right on the downbeat with that left right before it, right? So it's like O1, so it's left, right, and that's the downbeat, okay? These are all the things that you got to keep track of to keep yourself centered on the grid, okay? So we did all the single 16ths. Let's start putting them in groups of 2, okay? For example, we'll accent the first 2 16th notes and we will double the last two 16th notes, that sounds like this. Okay? 1, 2. Okay, let's do the middle two. Okay, that'll put the accents on the left hand and then the right hand. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, so again, keeping track of where the downbeat is and where the accents fall in relation to that, okay? So we did the first two, we did the middle two, now we did the last two, right? So it's 1 E and those are the ones we're accenting now, okay? So this will put the accents on the right hand, followed by the left hand, okay? That sounds like this. 1, 2. Okay, so you get the gist. You got to go through all this stuff, and you got to be able to just know it like the back of your hand. So that way, when it comes time to improvise, you don't have to think about it. Okay, your body just knows. You just know. Okay, that's why working on this stuff is so helpful. So you can get that kind of musical freedom. Okay. In terms of 16th notes and 32nd notes, this is just one of those things that's kind of simple, but you just got to put in the time and work on it. There's no substitute for playing it slow, and what you want to do is just kind of keep speeding up until it gets to that point where it starts to get like sloppy and you can't hear the strokes cleanly. And so you just kind of stop at that point and slow it down a little bit to where it was clean, and then just keep it there and like really work it. Or you can keep it to where it is sloppy and just keep working that until it gets clean, right? I had someone make that comment on one of my YouTube videos at one point. They were like, no, like keep working it where it's sloppy, and that's totally valid, right? As long as it gets to the point where it's clean. So in terms of just practicing that, I would just play like, you know, a bar of 16ths and then like double them as 32nd notes, but just start like really slow, like 3, 4. Okay, so that's what that sounds like. Don't get discouraged, just keep working on it. And again, this is the kind of thing you can practice with sticks on a pillow, on your leg, on something that doesn't bounce. You can then take this concept and put it over top of 16th notes, right? It's just that because we're now accenting every third 16th note, it will give us a dotted eighth. But what I like to do is I like to condense stuff down into like a simple one-bar phrase that I can turn into a cool fill and then practice that, okay? So for example, and we take that same 5-stroke sticking from the 8th note triplets and we apply it to this, right? And it sounds like you're playing these cool rolls when really I'm just hearing that same accent pattern. Da, 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 jaga, da. Right? same sticking. It's just doing more with it, which means you got to practice it more to get to that place. And then you have to keep track of where the accents are in relation to the quarter note, because that's what's going to keep you on the grid. That's what's going to keep you centered, because at that point we're thinking of it as a musical phrase and not just like some exercise, okay? So again, I'm thinking like da 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 chicka da 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 chicka boom, okay? Okay, so just like we took that Ted Reed swung phrase and put it over eighth note triplets, we accented the phrase, we doubled everything else. You can now do that with 16th notes, okay? The nature of 16th note phrasing is a little different, and there's a lot more possibilities, actually. So there's more kind of combinations that your hands have to get used to, but the good news is that the menu that you can choose from in terms of musical phrasing is a lot bigger. And if you work on these different combinations, there's more of a variety to the kind of phrasing that you can pull off, okay? So if you were to just play hand-to-hand 16th notes and just improvise accents, you can still do that. You just want to be able to double stroke everything else. Alright, there's some examples of me just kind of improvising and trying to slow things down and spell out what's happening, okay? Again, all over top of 16th notes, improvising with accents, doubling the rest at various speeds, putting them in various places on the drum kit, okay? So work on these different combinations and try to get to that finish line where you don't have to think about it anymore. You can just kind of improvise and turn these into kind of cool fills, okay? So good luck with this stuff.